Hey there, Sonic fans! Today, we're diving into the top 10 controversies that have rocked the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. From glitchy messes to questionable design choices, we're uncovering the moments that made gamers rage quit and sparked heated debates across the internet. Buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. We're talking years of gaming history, millions of heartbroken fans, and enough drama to fill a chow garden. So grab your chili dogs and strap in, because things are about to get controversial. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Where do we even begin? This game was supposed to be a celebratory rebirth for the franchise, a grand entrance onto the Xbox 360 and PS3 stage. Instead, it became infamous for all the wrong reasons. We're talking game-breaking glitches, atrocious load times, a bizarre and convoluted plot. This game had it all. Remember that creepy human-on-hedgehog kiss? Yeah, that happened. It was a perfect storm of development hell, rushed deadlines, and a severe lack of quality control. The result? A game so buggy it practically became a meme. But here's the thing, was it all bad? Okay, maybe it was mostly bad. But the sheer audacity of it, the ambition that crashed and burned so spectacularly, it's almost fascinating. Plus, it gave us years of Sonic 06 was bad jokes. And who doesn't love a good meme? Still, it's a stark reminder that even the fastest hedgehog alive can stumble. And sometimes, those stumbles are legendary. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric promised a fresh take on the Sonic formula. It had a new art style, a bigger focus on exploration, and even gave our spiky blue hero some extra bandages. What could go wrong? Well, as it turns out, a lot. The graphics, while stylized, were often criticized as being rough around the edges. The gameplay, while aiming for innovation, felt clunky and unpolished. And the story, while trying to be more mature, just fell flat for many fans. But the biggest controversy, the departure from the classic Sonic formula. Sonic Boom tried to reinvent the wheel, but in doing so it lost sight of what made Sonic, well, Sonic. The speed, the platforming, the sense of momentum, it just wasn't the same. This led to a massive divide in the fan base. Some appreciated the attempt to try something new, while others felt it was a betrayal of everything Sonic stood for. Remember that time the internet collectively broke the internet? No, I'm not talking about that cat video, I'm talking about the initial design reveal for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. When those first images dropped, the internet collectively recoiled in horror. Gone was the iconic hedgehog we knew and loved, replaced with whatever that thing was. It was like staring into the abyss of Uncanny Valley, and the abyss blinked first. Fans were furious. Social media exploded with memes, rants, and pleas for the studio to reconsider, and you know what? They listened. In an unprecedented move, the filmmakers went back to the drawing board and completely redesigned Sonic. The result? A box office smash that captured the hearts of fans worldwide. The lesson here? Never underestimate the power of the internet, especially when it comes to protecting their beloved video game mascots. Sonic and the Black Knight. A game that dared to ask the question, what if Sonic but swords? It was a bold move, and one that divided the fan base like a chili dog cut in half. On the one hand, you had players who appreciated the attempt to do something different. The medieval setting, the swordplay, the Arthurian legend, it was a unique blend of genres that some found refreshing. But on the other hand, you had those who felt it strayed too far from Sonic's roots. Sonic is about speed, about momentum, about gotta-go-fast platforming. Sword fighting, while cool, just didn't quite fit the bill for many. It felt slow, clunky, and out of place in the Sonic universe. Remember the Kinect? Microsoft's attempt at motion controls had its moments, but it also had its fair share of duds. And unfortunately, Sonic Freeriders fell squarely into the latter category. The premise was simple enough. Take the high-speed racing of Sonic Riders and translate it to the Kinect. What could go wrong? Oh, just the controls for starters. The Kinect, while ambitious, was notoriously finicky. Trying to translate the precise movements needed for a fast-paced racing game proved to be a recipe for disaster. Players complained of unresponsive controls, frustrating glitches, and a general lack of polish. It was a classic case of good intentions paving the road to gaming hell. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1. The game that promised to take us back to the glory days of 2D Sonic. The hype was real. Fans were clamoring for a return to the classic formula, a chance to relive the magic of the Genesis era. But when the game finally launched, It didn't quite stick the landing. The problem wasn't that it was a bad game per se, it was just different. The physics felt off, the level design felt uninspired, and the whole experience felt more like an imitation than a true successor to the classics. It proved that sometimes you can't go home again, or if you do, it might not be the homecoming you were hoping for. Sonic Labyrinth, a game that took the fast out of fastest thing alive. This Game Gear title took the bold strategy of making Sonic slow, like really slow. The premise? Sonic is trapped in a labyrinth, and Dr. Robotnik has stolen his speed shoes. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Well, it kinda was. The slow, methodical gameplay was a far cry from the high-octane action Sonic was known for. It felt clunky, frustrating, and just plain wrong. It's like watching a cheetah try to navigate a maze designed for a tortoise. Sonic R, a game that tried to take the blue blur from platforming to racing. It wasn't a terrible idea in theory. Sonic's always been about speed, so a racing game seemed like a natural fit. But in execution, it fell short. The controls were slippery, the tracks were uninspired, and the whole experience felt rushed and unpolished. It's not the worst racing game ever made, but it's certainly not one of Sonic's finest moments. It's a reminder that even the fastest hedgehog alive can't always outrun a bad game. Sonic Forces, a game that tried to recapture the magic of Sonic Generations, but ended up feeling like a pale imitation. The game introduced a custom character creator, which sounds cool on paper, but in practice it felt tacked on and underdeveloped. The story was also a bit of a mess, with forgettable villains and a plot that felt like it was ripped straight from a Saturday morning cartoon. It's not a terrible game, but it's not one you'll be revisiting anytime soon. Sonic Spinball, a game that took Sonic, the fastest thing alive, and stuck him in a pinball machine. It was a bizarre concept, and one that divided fans like a chili dog cut in half. On the one hand, it was a unique and surprisingly addictive take on the pinball genre. The levels were colorful and creative, and the pinball physics were surprisingly solid. But on the other hand, it was, well, pinball. It felt out of place in the Sonic universe, and many fans felt it was a betrayal of the series' core gameplay. And there you have it, folks. The top 10 controversies in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. From glitchy messes to questionable design choices, we've explored the moments that made gamers rage quit and sparked heated debates across the internet. But through it all, one thing remains clear. Sonic the Hedgehog, for better or worse, knows how to make an impact. Whether he's breaking the sound barrier and the game, or struggling to outrun a bad case of the slows, Sonic continues to be one of gaming's most enduring icons. So the next time you boot up a Sonic game, remember that behind those high-speed chases and loop-de-loops lies a legacy of controversies, triumphs, and everything in between.